Welcome to Congress in Context. We're here to give you the inside track on what's really happening in Washington.
Yeah, today we're diving deep into how Congress finally ended that long government shutdown.
And maybe even more importantly, the huge policy battles, especially on healthcare, that were really driving that whole mess.
Exactly. We're using the Congressional Record from November 9th and 10th, 2025. So official sources, real debates, actual votes.
Our mission, as always, is to unpack this for you, connect the dots, not just read the news headlines.
Let's get straight into it. The legislative triage first. Okay, so the big news. The government is back open. H.R. 5371, the Continuing Appropriations Act for 2026, passed.
And that ended the shutdown after. How long was it exactly?
41 days, a really long, painful stretch, political brinkmanship,
41 days. It's easy to hear that number, but the sources really show what that meant for people, right? It wasn't just political games.
Oh, absolutely not. The debates highlighted it. You had 42 million Americans missing SNAP payments.
42 million. Wow.
Yeah, and speakers were pointing out, food banks just couldn't cope. An impossible situation for them.
And it wasn't just food assistance, right? I saw stuff about, like, basic infrastructure failing, too.
Yeah.
Air travel.
Definitely. Air travel was described as being in a truly precarious situation. Think about it. Air traffic controllers, TSA agents.
Working without pay.
For nearly 6 weeks. Huge staffing shortages. One report mentioned, over 2,300 flight cancellations in just one day.
So the cost wasn't just political capital. It was real disruption. Security, economy.
Exactly. So after 41 days of that pain, they finally got the votes.
Was it a squeaker? Like just barely passed?
Actually, a fairly solid margin in the end. The final Senate vote on H.R. 5371 was 60 yeas to 40 nays.
60-40.
Yeah, that's roll call vote 618 leg.
Yeah.
Enough bipartisan agreement, finally, to say enough is enough. Let's open the doors, even if the big fights weren't solved.
Right. And this bill, H.R. 5371, it's a continuing resolution, a CR, right? Usually short-term fixes.
Mostly, yes. But crucially, this CR included full-year funding for some really vital programs. That was part of the deal.
Ah, so things like food assistance are safe for the whole year now, not just until the CR runs out.
That's the key part of the triage. Full-year money for SNP, for WIC that helps about 7 million moms and babies. Also, Head Start got its funding back immediately, and LIHEAP, the heating assistance program.
Which is critical with winter coming on.
Absolutely. And interestingly, amid all that CR drama, they actually managed to pass 3 full annual appropriations bills.
Oh, yeah. Which one?
Military construction and VA, agriculture, and the legislative branch itself passed through what they call regular order.
Regular order, meaning the old-fashioned way. Committees, debate, floor votes.
Yeah.
Not just crammed into one giant bill last minute.
Exactly. It shows that even during a shutdown crisis, some parts of the process can still work, especially, areas where there's generally broad agreement, like funding the military and veterans programs.
Okay, let's unpack the real sticking point here. If the shutdown was the symptom, the sources suggest the disease, or at least the main driver, was this fight over healthcare subsidies. The ACA premium tax credits.
That's dead on. The Enhanced Premium Tax Credits, or EPTC, they're set to expire at the end of this year, December 31st.
And that deadline was basically holding up the whole government funding process for weeks.
Pretty much. The argument from the Democratic side, and you heard it loud and clear in the debates, is that if these subsidies expire, boom, 22 million Americans could see their health insurance premiums double or triple or even quadruple.
That's the healthcare time bomb phrase we kept hearing.
Exactly. One senator framed it as potentially costing middle-class families an extra, $20,000 a year.
$20,000. That's life-changing money for most people. Mortgage payment, college tuition.
It sets the stakes incredibly high. And you saw Senator Baldwin try to force a vote on just extending the credits for 1 year. A clean extension.
How'd that go?
It was blocked. The vote to table, essentially kill, the amendment failed 47 to 53.
Okay, wait. 47 to 53 to table, it failed. That sounds counterintuitive. Help me understand that.
Right. It means the supporters of the extension won that procedural vote. They showed they have the numbers, 47 senators, who wanted to vote on the extension itself. But 53 senators voted against tabling it, meaning they wanted the amendment considered. But it still signals there weren't necessarily 51+ votes for the clean extension itself without other changes.
Okay. So it shows they can force the issue, but maybe not win it outright just yet. It guarantees this fight isn't over.
Precisely. It's kicked down the road to December. It'll be front and center when they have to fund the government again. Leverage.
Okay, so that's one side. What's the counterargument? Why not just extend these subsidies? The Republican position.
Their view is that these EPTCs were always meant to be temporary, COVID-era relief. And they argue extending them just props up a flawed system that actually makes insurance more expensive overall.
How so? Where do they say the money's going?
Their main point is efficiency, or lack thereof. They estimate, and cited figures suggest, around 20% of that subsidy money doesn't go to lower your premium directly, but straight to insurance company profits and administrative costs.
20%. So out of every dollar meant to help people afford insurance, 20 cents goes to the insurer's bottom line or overhead.
That's their argument. They frame it as corporate welfare hidden inside consumer relief.
Okay, so if they don't like the subsidies, what's their alternative?
It's about shifting control. Instead of subsidizing the premium paid to the insurance company, they propose taking that same EPTC money and putting it directly into accounts controlled by the patient, like pre-funded health reimbursement accounts, HRAs, or flexible spending accounts.
So give the money to the person, not the company.
Exactly. The thinking is, if the money is in your dedicated health account, then 100% of it has to be spent on actual healthcare, doctor visits, prescriptions, dental, eyeglasses, maybe things your insurance doesn't even cover well. Patient empowerment, they call it.
And wasn't there a high-profile endorsement of that idea from President Trump?
Yes, he tweeted support, saying the money should, and I'm quoting here, be sent directly to the people so they can purchase their own much better health care.
That really sums up the philosophical divide, doesn't it?
It does. Control premiums through government subsidies versus empower patients with direct funds. That's the core tension we're going to see play out intensely at the end of the year. Both sides promised hearings and votes before year-end.
All right, let's shift gears a bit. Because amidst all this shutdown chaos and the looming healthcare fight, they actually got some important things done for veterans, right? Tied into that milk on VA funding bill you mentioned.
Yes, and the timing was significant. This was happening right around Veterans Day. There's always a strong push to show support then.
So it wasn't just funding. They passed actual policy changes.
Correct. And notably, key bills passed by unanimous consent, meaning literally zero objections from any senator. Smooth sailing.
Okay, give us the highlights. What passed so easily?
Two stand out. First, S2392. This one increases the compensation rates for veterans with service-connected disabilities and also for their survivors. And it takes effect fast December 1st, 2025.
So direct financial help coming very soon for disabled vets and families.
Exactly. Mandated relief. The second one was S778, called the Lactation Spaces for Veteran Moms Act.
Okay, that sounds specific. What does it do?
It requires every VA medical center to have a dedicated private lactation space for veteran mothers.
That's interesting. It feels small scale maybe, but it really points to how the VA has to adapt to who veterans are today, right? A changing demographic.
Absolutely. It reflects a modern reality. And looking bigger picture at the funding, the Veterans Health Administration, the VHA, got a huge allocation, nearly $60 billion just for medical services in the next fiscal year.
$60 billion. And within that, I assume mental health is still a major focus.
Huge focus. Over $3.6 billion specifically targeted for mental health programs.
Including the Veterans Crisis Line, the VCL.
Yes, the VCL alone got over $312 million earmarked for it. Robust funding.
Well, there's always a but with government funding, isn't there?
Yeah, seems like it. Even with all that money, Congress is clearly still worried about how well the VCL is actually working. The bill language directs the VA to produce a detailed report within 90 days.
On what specifically?
On VCL performance, staffing levels, wait times, contingency plans if there are surges. Basically, proving the money is translating into effective, accessible help.
So oversight, they're keeping the pressure on. Any other areas of concern?
Yeah, the electronic health record system, the EHR modernization project, it's cost billions, and the reports mention continued concern about usability problems, even potential patient harm. So vigilance there too.
It's that classic pattern. Congress allocates huge sums, but then demands accountability to make sure it's working on the ground.
Right. Provide the resources, but verify the results.
Yeah.
And one last, really unique item in that VA funding.
Oh.
It's funding for identifying unknown remains. Specifically, $1.5 million allocated to partner with a private lab.
To do what?
To use forensic genetic genealogy, it's advanced DNA tech. The goal is to identify unknown service members buried at the National Cemetery of the Pacific, Punch Bowl, in Hawaii.
Wow. Using cutting-edge science to try and finally give names back to fallen soldiers from past conflicts.
Exactly. It's a really profound investment, speaks to that promise of leaving no one behind, even decades later.
Okay, moving beyond the shutdown in healthcare, that agriculture appropriations bill we mentioned earlier, it wasn't just about farms. It had some critical pieces about regulation, especially for the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA.
Right. The FDA got its funding. How much was it?
Nearly $7 billion in total. That includes the user fees they collect, but it's the instructions with the money that are interesting.
Instructions related to.
Infant formula. Congress hasn't forgotten the crisis from 2022. There's explicit language expressing ongoing concern about the fragility of the domestic infant formula market. So they're telling the FDA to keep a close eye on that.
Yeah, a very close eye. Focus on safety, quality, but also diversifying the domestic supply chain, making sure we have more U.S.-based manufacturers. And importantly, ensuring foreign and domestic makers meet the exact same safety standards, including surprise inspections for everyone.
Trying to build resilience, prevent another shortage like that. Makes sense. What about general food safety? Anything else stand out?
Yes, the food traceability final rule. Congress set a hard deadline for compliance, July 20th, 2028.
Traceability, meaning tracking food through the supply chain.
Exactly, from farm to fork, basically. But here's the interesting part. Congress didn't just set the deadline. They ordered the FDA to conduct mandatory reports and even run tabletop exercises before the deadline.
Tabletop exercises,
Right.
like practice runs.
Yeah, involving the whole chain, producers, processors, distributors, retailers. They have to prove the tracking systems actually work before 2028. Congress wants proof of concept, not just promises.
Okay, proactive oversight there too. And you mentioned something about hemp in the agriculture bill.
Yes. A perfect example of what's called a policy writer. A specific policy issue tucked into a giant spending bill.
Happens all the time. Right.
Constantly. This one was about hemp-derived THC products. Remember the 2018 Farm Bill legalized hemp?
Right, based on low THC content?
Well, an issue emerged with chemically synthesized, intoxicating THC products being made from legal hemp, basically skirting state cannabis laws. So language was added to this ag bill aiming to clarify the rules, target those intoxicating products specifically.
While trying not to hurt the legitimate market for, like, CBD oil or industrial hemp fiber.
That was the stated goal, yes. Root out the bad actors, as one senator put it, without damaging the legal industry. It just shows how these big funding bills become vehicles for all sorts of detailed, sometimes controversial, policy adjustments. Hashtag #VCX, future implications, and citizen engagement.
So, okay, 41-day shutdown averted, government funded, but only temporarily, right? This CR doesn't last forever.
Not at all. It expires January 30th, 2026. We're operating on borrowed time, very borrowed time.
So what does this whole episode tell us about what's coming next? Like, immediately next.
It tells us December is going to be incredibly busy and probably pretty tense. They have to deal with that healthcare subsidy cliff, the EPTC fight we talked about. That's priority one.
Because it expires end of December.
Right. And then they still need to pass the other 9 regular appropriations bills before January 30th. Or face another shutdown. There's basically no room for error over the holidays and into the new year.
Feels like we just got out of one standoff.
Yeah.
And we're heading straight into another couple.
That's often how it works, unfortunately. And speaking of standoffs and how things work, there was a really interesting kind of under-the-radar procedural fight mentioned in the sources about something called pocket rescissions.
Pocket rescissions.
Yeah.
Sounds obscure. What's that about?
It gets at the fundamental power balance between Congress and the president, the executive branch.
Yeah.
Congress controls the money, right? The power of the purse.
Supposedly.
Right. A rescission is when the government decides not to spend money Congress already approved. A pocket rescission is like a sneaky version where the White House tries to quietly cancel funding for certain programs very late in the fiscal year, effectively making the money disappear before Congress can object.
So the president trying to override Congress's spending decisions without a formal veto. Locking the cash drawer, basically.
That's a good way to put it. And one senator framed this fight, the attempt to ban pocket rescissions, as being about the core difference between a democracy and an autocracy. It's Congress trying to defend its constitutional power over spending from executive encroachment, a perennial struggle.
Fascinating. So much packed into these documents. For you listening, if you want to follow up, maybe read some of this yourself, where should you look?
Congress.gov is your best friend. You can search for the bill numbers we mentioned. HR 5371, that's the CR that ended the shutdown. S2392, that's the VA compensation increase bill.
Knowing the number really helps cut through the noise.
It really does. Oh, and on a completely different note, the Senate also passed SRES 497, just a resolution allowing staff to collect donations, clothes, toys, food in Senate buildings for charity during the holidays.
A little reminder that maybe not everything is conflict-ridden there.
A small point of consensus, maybe.
Okay, so let's tie this all together. We've seen the shutdown, the high-stakes healthcare fight brewing, the targeted funding for vets and FDA oversight. What's the really big takeaway here, the deeper conflict?
At the end of the day, I think the deepest conflict isn't just about how much we're spending. It's about who decides how essential services are paid for and delivered. Is it the patient, choosing with direct funds? Is it the insurance company managing risk and cost via premiums, possibly subsidized? Or is it government agencies setting rules and controlling distribution?
Power over the purse and power over policy.
Exactly. The shutdown was just the latest battleground for that fundamental struggle over control. And that's the core question you'll see Congress grappling with intensely as this year comes to a close.